Well, guys, I'm back down from the hill. It was an uneventful night. Absolutely nothing. Let me get this Dr. Pepper open. Come on. There we go. The one good thing about a good camping trip is I got a good Dr. Pepper waiting at the bottom of the hill. Could be any soda, but I prefer this. It was an interesting night. It got very cold. It got 39, I think it was. And it got very uncomfortable. They're not kidding about that being a 40-degree bag. Even that Mountain Products, or whatever that was, that one I got on Amazon. It's a good bag, absolutely rated down to the temperature it's meant to work at. But I think if I do another trip like that, I'm going to invest in a 0-degree bag. I'm wagon camping anyway, so everything comes up on a wagon. It's easy to get it to the site, easy to get it down from there. Have some things on the backpack, but not really a whole hell of a lot. Other than being uncomfortably cold. There was one thing that happened this morning while I was getting it, and I wish there was no way I could have filmed it. There's absolutely no way. I'm in that little dome tent, and I'm emptying out my gear, so I go out to put some stuff on the wagon, and there's a couple of camera bags. My bedroll's still in there, and what the hell else was there? There was some water cans in there still. And I had this crazy wind come over the hill, and it pulled all the stakes out of the ground. That tent lifted up, it stayed upright. It's just this dome lifted up, and I ran, and that one last rope is dragging across the concrete. And I grabbed that rope, and I was flying that sucker like a kite. It wasn't rolling down a hill. It caught up under that rain fly like a wing, and I guess all that gear was just centered up in that tent just good enough that it provided ballast. And that thing balanced itself, and it flew like a kite. I had to sit there with both hands, and I had to pull it back down to the concrete. And I had to wait till the wind let up before I could let go of it. I had to stake all those stakes down tight again. But it literally, and they were those big, wide plastic stakes, not those little wire stakes like you get with a tent. That's the first thing you should upgrade when you get any tent. I had those big, wide plastic stakes that have those grooves and channels in them so that they'll go into the dirt, and when it pulls, it actually digs itself in. It's kind of like a barb kind of thing. It literally pulled chunks of earth out with those stakes and lifted those stakes, lifted that tent. So that was my interesting thing. And it's one of those things you wish you had a camera, you wish you could film it. But if I'd had only one hand, I would not have been able to rescue my tent and my stuff. It literally was flying away. It was flying away like a freaking... If you've ever let go of the string of a kite and you lose your kite, you've seen it just keep on flying and going and going. Because the weight of the string or the weight of whatever's holding the ballast on it, it just makes it a glider. So there's this dome tent. It's just up there floating like a UFO, and I'm holding it by one rope. So I pulled that thing down, and I got it back down to the concrete, and I waited till the wind died down. I staked it back down good and tight. I found harder soil to stake it into, and I hammered the crap out of it to get it in there. But the one thing it did do, which helped me, I didn't know how the hell I was going to manage the tent in the wind and the tarp in the wind, because when the tent got up in the air, the tarp that was under it went vroom, and it just went off a little ways and caught in the bushes. So after I staked the tent down, I went down there and I retrieved the tarp, and I rolled it into a big ball, and there's this piece of concrete, this terracotta. You see them around garden hoses, like a big block, but it's hollow in the middle, and you sit it down over your faucet. There's one sitting up there because there used to be an old well up there. So I just crammed that big old tarp up in there and process the tent. The tent is more important than the tarp. I can buy another tarp. They're cheap. But I can't buy another tent or the gear that's in it if it flies away again. So process the tent and the rest of the gear, and then I process the tarp. Got everything loaded on the wagon. Got down the hill. I just got in. I changed shirts just a little while ago, And, man, here's the weird thing, though. Temperature came up real fast. It got down to 39, and it sat around there. And I'll tell you, man, you go camping where the temperature can be wild like that, get wildly cold or wildly hot, make sure you bring an extra pair of socks, man. I'd like to froze my feet off, man. I had thermals on. I had like a sweater on. I had sweats on under my pants. And I forgot to bring a heavy pair of socks. That made that whole night interesting. What I did to warm my feet, they got so bad. Have you ever had, this is a weird combination, so numb it hurts. They were hurting, man. They were in pain. They were so cold. So what I did, I had a stainless steel Stanley bottle. It's actually on my pack. Let me see if I can find my pack. Well, I can show it to you later. You probably saw it in the picture when I panned the camera around last night. I took that, and I took some water, and I put it in my Stanley cook set, 20 ounces, and I brought it to a boil, and then I let it cool to the point that I could just touch it so it wouldn't damage the plastic on the top of the water bottle. And I poured it in that stainless steel bottle and put that lid back on there. It has like a canteen lid you can drink from that screws onto it. Tighten the holy Jesus out of that. I opened it a few times to let it vent, until it started cooling, and then it would start generating a vacuum. And I put that thing in the bottom of my sleeping bag, and that was the only way I could save my feet, man. I slept like a baby after that, but sleeping was miserable. And there was no warm place in that sleeping bag you could find. Or the other thing that would happen is if you were perfectly still and you held your feet perfectly still, that insulation would warm up around them, and they would start to feel a little better. But the minute you moved to another cold part of that sleeping bag, it was all over again, man, and that went on. But after I got that, about maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, I was able to keep my feet warm by keeping that warm water bottle down there. And I slept like a dream, man. I woke up to daylight. I think it was like 8 o'clock. I woke up. Tent was soaking wet. Not inside, but just the condensation. You'll never find a tent that doesn't do the condensation thing if it's synthetic fabric. And so I had to let it dry, What basically happened, it's warmer in the tent and colder outside, so you get condensation on the inside wall. Got lots of it. The weird thing is, nothing in the tent was really wet, just the walls of the tent. Like the sleeping bag was barely touching it, the pillow part of it and the foot part of it. But when I pulled it out, I guess because the warmth didn't get down there between the bag and the wall of the tent, it didn't get the toes of the sleeping bag and it didn't get the head of the sleeping bag wet, which was good. It's synthetic fiber, but I still don't want to have to air it out and dry it, Unless I have to. So that was my camping trip. That morning I woke up and stomach started feeling weird. I didn't want to be crapping all over the side of the hill, so got my gear together, packed it as quick as I could. I didn't make it by lunch. I had to wait for the tent to dry. So my other half called to see if I was going to be down for lunch, and I just couldn't make it. So I had to sit there, You have to wait for nature to do what nature's going to do when it comes to those things. You don't want to pack a wet tent if you don't have to. You'll have mold and mildew the next time you go to use it. It's a quick way to destroy an investment. However, I'm thinking I'm going to give that tent away, that little $24 tent. It's a little small for me. I'm kind of tallish, and my head hits one side and my toes hit the other side of the tent, which wasn't helping either because there was no thermal insulation. When you get up against that, you're against the cold part of the tent, and the heat just starts radiating out. But I found that I can do that. I can camp without a heat source. It's not fun unless you got a good sleeping bag. But I think I'm going to put my Walmart bag away. It's a 50-degree rated bag, and it's a good one. It's cheap, but it's good. It actually can go down into the 40s and still be comfortable. And gonna put I may keep my little orange mountaineering bag. What does it call it? I forget what the name. Mountaineering products or something like that. It was an El Cheapo, but it's rated 10 degrees cooler, and it does. I got out of the Walmart bag, put it under me, and I opened that one up, and I got in that one. And I was a bit warmer in that one. And then it got down a little cooler. Then I had a brilliant idea. I took the Mountaineering Products bag and I opened it up into a blanket and I put it on top of the Walmart bag and I crawled into the Walmart bag. And I was toasty, man. Two of them things stacked on top of each other. The one used like a quilt and the other like a bag. And man, I drifted off to sleep. My feet didn't feel cold anymore. Everything was awesome. Ooh, excuse me. Dr. Pepper. But just got back down. I didn't take any of the cameras out of my bag. I think I'm going to just make a routine of taking one camera up because those bastards weigh a ton when you have to carry them around. Especially when you got 3 of them in there and they're all like very heavily built, well-made cameras. I don't play with that cheap old kid stuff. Use real cameras. And I think I'm just going to carry one. That way I can lower the amount of weight. Because there's probably on that pack, that's got to be about 30, 40 pounds of weight. And that's just cameras. You know, I've got a couple of cameras. I'm probably not going to carry my DSLRs unless I'm doing astrophotography. If I'm just camping, I'm going to take my point and shoots or my bridge cameras. Oh, there goes the ice maker. It's fixing to dump. Either fixing to dump or fixing to refill. But I am happy to be down. I'm happy to be down from there. I was hoping I'd be able to make it for lunch, but things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. So anyway, that's what's happened. The power on this little phone. I'm actually filming on a different phone today because my nice J7 with the 8 cores. Well, 8 cores eat a lot of power, apparently. Actually, it's a weird thing about that. That phone kept its power up until she called around just before lunch today. It had... Uh-oh. It's out of water. Well, it'll get one run and then it'll shut off. Can you hear it? It was weird because it does a real good job with power management. And it'll sit there and it'll get to 10% and then it'll get to 5% and the screen will dim. And then it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're done, you know. But it'll be like that 15 to 10% will last you quite a long, long time if you're not like filming or YouTubing or something like that. That's why I didn't upload any more video while I was up there also, man. I hit that 10% mark and I had to have that little bit of power because if I had to make an emergency call, excuse me, you know, you got to have that. That phone's got to be able to make at least one call. And it wouldn't have been a big deal. I got the power cell up there. I got this huge power bank. But guess what I forgot? The one thing I forgot to pack. The charging cable. So I'm sitting here with all this electricity available. And no way to access it, you know. So just BS. I wish they made power banks that had an inductive charging coil on them. So if you forget your charging cable, maybe it'll slow charge. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just something so you can just lay your phone there and get a little power, you know, and bring your battery up a little bit. Would be nice. I don't think anybody makes a battery bank that inductively charges. But anyway, I just thought I'd check in with you guys and let you guys know how it went. I wish I could have filmed more, but things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, so... Oh, and Darren, the reason I didn't use the camera glasses is because that 16 gig memory card in it, I tried that out and it went kaput, so I got to go get another SD card, but that won't be a problem. You know, you should never really rely on the one they supply. Actually, it was an 8 gig, but you should never really rely on the one they supply because it's only good. It's only going to get you so far. It's better to get better stuff when you get the chance. So I'm going to run down to Wally World and pick me up a little Maybe I'll pick up a little 32 gig SanDisk or something and put in there. They're not that expensive now. But anyway, I'll let you guys go. This video is getting long, and I don't have much memory on this alternate phone. So y'all have a good one.